The smell of roasted garlic filled the kitchen, blending with the scent of simmering marinara and toasted bread. I was making Ava's favorite, chicken parmesan with extra mozzarella. She used to call it Dad's celebration dinner. I didn't say it out loud, but I was thinking of it as a sort of pre-wedding send-off, a final gesture before she became someone else's responsibility. My name is Michael. I'm 53, and I live in Auburn, California. I teach shop class at the local high school and do side work fixing decks and cabinets around town. Nothing fancy, just the kind of work that keeps your hands busy and your mind quiet. Lana, my wife of 19 years, sat at the table scrolling through her phone, half watching the sauce bubble. "You remember Ava's dress fitting is Friday?" she asked, not looking up. "Yeah, I shifted a job for it," I said. "You think she'll want to do dinner after?" Lana made a face. "Actually, there's something we need to talk about." I wiped my hands on a towel. "What's up?" She took a sip from her glass, then looked at me. Not soft, not cruel, just matter of fact. "Ava wants her dad to walk her down the aisle." It took a beat to register. "Victor?" Lana nodded. "She says it's something she's always dreamed of." I nodded slowly, trying to let the words land without splintering. "And she'd prefer if you didn't come to the wedding," Lana added quickly, like ripping off a bandage. "It's not personal, she just thinks it would be simpler." My heart didn't break, not right away. First, it stalled, froze. 18 years. Soccer practices, scraped knees, science fairs, late-night breakups, college tours, erased with a phrase like, "not personal." I stirred the sauce once more, though it didn't need it, just something to do with my hands. "She say that to you?" I asked. Lana nodded again. "She didn't mean it to hurt you." I didn't respond. I just turned off the stove and set the pan aside. Later that evening, I sat alone in the workshop behind our house. The woodshop had always been my place to think. Old photos of Ava were pinned to the corkboard. Her kindergarten Halloween costume, her 8th grade graduation, the first time she tried using a hammer and split her thumb open. I pulled out my phone and canceled the tux fitting for Tuesday. No use pretending. Then I opened a bookmarked link I hadn't touched in years. A solo hiking retreat in the Sierra Nevada. 7 days, no service, no itinerary, just boots, gear, and silence. I booked it. No discussion, no explanation. When I got back inside, Lana was watching something on her laptop, earbuds in. She didn't notice when I walked past. In the corner of the room sat the wedding invitation, elegant cream cardstock with gold trim, propped on the bookshelf. I left it there, didn't even touch it. I spent the next 2 days mostly in the workshop. It was easier to be there, away from the house, away from the polite silence Lana was offering me, like a consolation prize. The invitation was still sitting on the shelf when I passed it that morning, untouched. Not angry, not dramatic, just irrelevant now. Inside the shop, I moved like muscle memory. The table saw groaned as I cut through the final strip of maple for Ava's custom ring box. The one she had picked the design for back in March, when she still called me Dad, like it meant something. I sanded the edges and stained the lid, slow and careful, like it would still matter. Like it would still be held and opened with care. Then came the wedding band. Not hers, but his, the groom's. Ava had shown me the design from some boutique site, a slim gold band with a mountain range etched along the outside. Inside, the engraving, unbreakable. I'd fronted the deposit weeks ago, and now one final payment would close the loop. I pulled out the invoice, clicked pay, and watched the receipt land in my inbox. That was it. That was my last contribution. After, I opened the top drawer of my workbench. Tucked in the back corner was a folded packing list from REI and a scratched-up printout of a hiking route I'd circled in red pen 3 years ago and never committed to. I laid them out flat on the bench, smoothing the creases with my palms. It was strange how quickly the decision had taken root. I didn't feel guilty, not numb either, just still. Like stepping out of a burning building and realizing you were the only one who noticed it was on fire. I pulled the old hiking pack from the overhead shelf, dumped out what was left from last summer, and started over. Sleeping bag, boots, flask, a battered paperback I'd meant to finish. A photo of Ava and me from when she was 6, her arms wrapped around my neck, both of us covered in mud from some long-forgotten backyard project. I folded it and slid it into the front zipper pocket. Back in the house, I passed Lana in the kitchen. She looked up from her phone, then away. We hadn't really talked since the night she told me. Heading out? She asked, like I was going to the store. Early morning shuttle, I said, grabbing the pack. Be safe, she said after a pause. I nodded and left. The wedding invitation was still on the bookshelf, still unopened, and still, I didn't touch it. 2 days before the wedding, Lana attended her usual Wednesday night wine group. 6 women, rotating host homes, charcuterie boards, and overpriced bottles with names no one could pronounce properly. That night, it was Rosalie's turn, the one with the tiered patio and husband who never seemed to be around. Lana brought a chilled bottle of Sauvignon Blanc and a practiced smile. She was good at that, curating the version of herself she wanted others to see. Big weekend ahead, Rosalie said, offering her a seat and pouring her a generous glass. Your daughter's wedding. You must be thrilled. Lana gave a graceful nod, dabbing at the corners of her eyes with mock emotion. It's going to be beautiful, really healing for all of us. Healing? Someone asked. The room leaned in. Well, Lana began, tone soft but steady. Ava's chosen to have her biological father walk her down the aisle. Gasps, raised eyebrows. The clink of wine glasses paused midair. She felt it was time, a moment for reconnection. Closure. How's Michael taking it? Asked Denise, the most openly nosy of the group. Lana placed a hand over her heart. Graciously, he's been incredibly supportive. Honestly, I don't think he even wanted the spotlight. She let the lie land gently, like a feather. No mention of the canceled tux. No mention of the week-long disappearance into the wilderness. She needed them to see a picture of calm, of control, a family evolving in love, not crumbling under the weight of a choice. Later, when Rosalie served miniature cheesecakes, the talk shifted to vineyards and spa getaways, and Lana smiled politely through it all. She had said her piece. The narrative was set. Meanwhile, Ava sat in her apartment surrounded by open dress bags, gift boxes, and a disorganized checklist she kept rewriting. Her phone lay screen up on the coffee table, messages still unread. She had texted Victor the night before, and the night before that. No reply. Still, she posted a photo on Instagram, a throwback from her childhood, one of the rare times Victor had taken her to the lake. The caption read, "Dreams do come true. Can't wait to walk with you, Dad." The comments rolled in. So sweet. Such a moment. Crying already. Ava liked everyone. Her hand hovered over the phone again, thumb tapping between apps, texts, and photo filters. She checked Victor's last message. It was 4 days old. A thumbs up and a vague, "Can't wait either." She tried to ignore the silence since then. Maybe his phone's off, she mumbled to herself. Or maybe, her voice whispered deeper inside, he's doing what he's always done. But she wouldn't say that out loud. Not yet. Instead, she opened her calendar and adjusted the ceremony reminder for Saturday. Walk with Dad, she typed in the event name. The illusion was still intact, barely. But no one could see the cracks. Not yet. Saturday afternoon arrived hot and windless, the kind of heat that made linen stick and flowers wilt by noon. The vineyard estate where Ava's wedding was set looked like something out of a catalog. Sweeping hills, white chairs lined in perfect rows, strings of lights draped over a massive oak at the end of the aisle. Everything was picture perfect, almost. Guests started arriving around 2. They moved like tourists in a museum, sipping champagne, fanning themselves with printed programs, sneaking glances around the venue. "Where's Michael?" someone whispered. "He's not coming," said a woman near the bar. "Didn't you hear?" Ava asked her real dad to walk her down. "Victor?" another asked, brows raised. "Mm-hmm," came the reply. Bold move. In the bridal suite upstairs, Ava sat in front of a full-length mirror, her dress zipped and pinned, hair curled into a low twist. Her eyes, though, were locked on the screen of her phone. Still no new messages? It was 3:11 p.m. Victor hadn't texted, hadn't called. "He's probably on his way," she muttered, more to herself than to the 2 bridesmaids fluffing her veil. Outside, the event planner, a woman named Tessa with a headset and clipboard, walked briskly to where Lana stood under the shade of a white canopy. "Hi, sorry, just a quick check-in," Tessa said with a tight smile. "The ceremony's scheduled to start in 20 minutes. Is Ava's escort here yet?" Lana forced a polite smile. "He's en route." Traffic, I think. Tessa nodded too quickly. Okay, we'll adjust if needed. Just keep me updated, please. As Tessa walked away, Lana pulled out her phone and dialed again. Straight to voicemail. Again. She didn't bother leaving a message this time. Inside, Ava scrolled back through the last few texts she'd sent. Thursday. Can't wait to see you walk me down the aisle. Friday. Flight still on time? Saturday morning, 9:03 a.m. Let me know when you're here. Nothing. She set the phone down, chest tightening. Lana, she called out. Her voice sounded small. Her mother stepped in from the hallway, fixing her lipstick. He's on his way, Lana said quickly, her voice lined with tension Ava didn't catch. Are you sure? Ava asked, holding her phone like it might buzz any second. He'll be here, sweetheart. Lana smoothed the skirt of Ava's dress. Let's not stress. This is your day. But behind her eyes, Lana wasn't so sure anymore. Downstairs, music began to hum softly from the speakers, an instrumental version of something vaguely romantic. Tessa appeared again, headset slightly askew. 10 minutes, she said. Still no sign? Lana swallowed hard. He's coming. But she didn't say it with confidence anymore. Upstairs, Ava took a shaky breath and looked back at her phone one more time. Still nothing. And in that moment, that aching, hollow moment, she felt the first shift in the ground beneath her. Something wasn't right. The fairy tale was wobbling, tilting at the edges. And Victor, the man she had placed at the center of it, was already gone. He just hadn't told her yet. The music started too early. It was supposed to be timed. A gentle swell right as the guests rose. A pause at the top of the aisle, then Ava stepping forward on her father's arm. But instead, the speakers crackled to life in the middle of a bridesmaid's sentence, the piano melody lurching into motion like someone hit play by accident. Tessa, the planner, flinched and waved frantically toward the sound booth. The officiant, a soft-spoken man with silver-rimmed glasses, gave a puzzled glance down the aisle, as if expecting someone, anyone, to appear. Inside the bridal suite, Ava stood frozen in the doorway. The lace train of her gown pooled behind her, bouquet clutched in both hands, knuckles white. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Mom, she whispered. Lana stood beside her, phone in hand. Her face was pale, lips pressed tight. She shook her head once, no response, no update, no Victor. But he said, Ava started, then her phone buzzed. She nearly dropped the bouquet, fumbling to check it. Victor. Sorry, work thing, can't make it. Proud of you, though. That was it. One sentence. Casual, like rescheduling lunch. Like 18 years of absence boiled down to a shrug. Ava didn't move, didn't cry. Just blinked at the screen, like if she stared hard enough, it might change. Sweetheart, Lana started, stepping closer. We can fix this. Ava shook her head slowly. Number, we can't. Maybe your Uncle Evan, he's here. He could walk with you. Or maybe Jared, that cousin from your dad's side. No, Ava said, her voice flat. No more substitutions. The bridesmaids hovered nearby, exchanging nervous glances. One whispered something about the timeline. Another checked her watch. Outside, the music looped back to the beginning, a soft, insistent cue. The officiant looked toward the canopy where Tessa stood, mouthing, "What do we do?" Finally, Ava stepped forward, alone. Her heels clicked against the stone path. Her bouquet shook slightly in her grip. Guests turned one by one, smiles faltering as they realized no one walked beside her. No father, no stepfather, just Ava. Tessa quickly gave the nod to the coordinator at the end of the aisle, signaling the photographer. Flash, snap, click. Immortalize the moment, whether it was meant to be this way or not. The whispers began before Ava reached the front row. Where's Victor? She's walking alone? What about Michael? Lana sat in the second row, hands clenched around her clutch. Her eyes flicked to the guests, then back to her daughter. This wasn't part of the plan. At the altar, the officiant stepped forward, voice gentle. Shall we begin? Ava gave a single nod. She didn't look left or right, didn't glance toward the crowd or the camera or her mother. She simply turned, stood beneath the arch, and waited. The dress was perfect, the flowers, immaculate. The sunlight spilled across the vineyard like something out of a dream. But Ava's face said it all. Whatever fantasy she had built around this day, the grand moment, the father she never really had, it had just shattered, one quiet step at a time. The silence stretched long and awkward as Ava stood at the altar, bouquet lowered, her expression unreadable. A light breeze stirred the hem of her dress. Guests shifted in their chairs, murmurs rippling like wind through tall grass. What should have been a moment of joy had turned into a puzzle everyone was trying to piece together. "Where's Michael?" someone whispered, just loud enough for half the row to hear. "Didn't he raise her? I thought he was the stepdad. Been around forever, right? I heard he built their whole deck by himself last year. Paid for the wedding too, didn't he?" The words twisted through the rows, each guest passing on fragments of knowledge like pieces of contraband. No one said it directly, but the mood had changed. The beautiful venue, the curated flowers, the personalized vows waiting in the officiant's folder. None of it masked the absence anymore. Susan, an old family friend seated near the middle, sat frozen. Her program trembled in her lap. She glanced around, noticing how the warmth of the day had turned brittle. She had known Michael for years, watched him show up at every school fundraiser, every talent show, every back-to-school night. He was never flashy, never loud, just constant. And now he was gone. Near the front row, Lana gripped her clutch tighter, her nails digging into the leather. She could feel the judgment like heat waves off asphalt. She heard it in the stillness, saw it in the glances darting toward her, and then away again. On the aisle, the officiant cleared his throat gently and looked out over the crowd. "Who gives this bride away?" The words hung in the air like smoke. Everyone turned, waiting. Ava didn't speak at first. She stared ahead, her face calm, almost detached. Then she leaned toward the mic slightly. "No one," she said, voice steady. "No one gives me away." A gasp somewhere in the back. The kind of sharp, involuntary sound that only comes when something truly lands, like a dropped glass in a silent room. The officiant hesitated, thrown off. He recovered quickly, flipping his script and moving on, but the moment had already split the day in two. From the back row, a guest whispered, "That's brutal." Another, "Where's her stepdad again?" "Gone," someone else replied. Apparently by choice. In that instant, Lana realized what she had done, not just to Michael, but to the whole story she had tried to rewrite. The truth was leaking through the seams now. Victor had vanished. Michael was absent by design. And the crowd was no longer buying the version of events they'd been fed. What was meant to be a fairy tale was unraveling, right in front of everyone. The wind along the ridge was steady and cool, brushing through the pines and catching the hem of my jacket like it wanted my attention. I let it. Out here, everything asked quietly. Nothing demanded. The trail had ended an hour ago, but I kept walking. I found the overlook by accident, a flat rock face where the trees parted just enough to reveal the sheer drop below. Beyond that, nothing but endless ridges of blue and gray, layered like the folds of a heavy blanket. No wedding, no music, no eyes watching. Just wind, pine, rock, sky. I unscrewed the cap on my thermos and poured a small stream of coffee into the lid. It steamed in the mountain air. My fingers, calloused from decades of wooden tools, cupped the warmth instinctively. The phone buzzed in my jacket pocket. I didn't check it, it buzzed again. A longer vibration this time, voicemail, maybe a second one. I still didn't check it. Instead, I sat on the flat rock and watched a hawk circle far below. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was done replaying the conversation with Lana, done wondering how Ava could erase 18 years in one sentence, done questioning whether I could have handled it differently. That part of me, the one that always showed up, always filled the gaps, always said, "I understand," he'd gone quiet. And honestly, it felt like peace. The mountains didn't ask me to be anyone's father. They didn't ask for explanations, apologies, or money. They just stood there, unchanged, unimpressed, honest in a way people rarely are. I took another sip of coffee, closed my eyes, and let the wind do what it does, carve silence into stone, one breath at a time. The phone buzzed again. This time I pulled it from my pocket and glanced at the screen. 10 missed calls, 4 voicemails. Lana, Avenue. I scrolled without listening. One of Ava's texts flashed up. "Please, can we talk?" Another. I didn't know he wouldn't show. I didn't think. I deleted them. Not out of spite, but because I didn't need them anymore. Somewhere down there, in the rows of white chairs and carefully planned decor, they were trying to rewrite the story again, trying to stitch a version of the day that didn't start with silence and end with absence. But here, the story was simple. I had loved her. I had shown up every time. And when I was no longer needed, I left with my dignity intact. That was the story I was keeping. And as the sun began to tilt westward and the shadows stretched across the ridge, I stood, zipped my jacket, and started walking again, one foot in front of the other, into the silence, where no one erased me. By the time I returned to the cabin, dusk was already folding over the Sierra pines. The little place was just 4 walls, a stove, and a cot, perched near a dried-up creek bed. No reception unless you hiked to the ridge. I didn't mind. That was the point. I lit the wood stove, set a kettle to boil, and pulled out my pocket knife and a half-whittled block of cedar from my bag. Something about carving always helped clear the static. Simple lines, no big purpose. Just motion and shape, one piece at a time. The phone had service now, just barely. It caught up in a single gasp, buzzing, chiming, vibrating across the table like it was trying to leap away. 6 voicemails, dozens of texts. I let it buzz until it stopped. Then I opened them. Lana, please, just let me explain. I didn't know he wouldn't come. Ava didn't know. She's devastated. Ava, Dad, I'm sorry. I was stupid. I thought it would be different. I thought he'd show. There was a voice note from her. I debated playing it for a moment, then hit play. Her voice cracked halfway through. I should have picked you. I wanted something I never had. And I thought maybe if I let him walk me down the aisle, it would fix everything. But he didn't even show up. And the worst part is, you didn't either. She paused, long enough that I almost thought it ended. I miss you. I need you. I was wrong. I see that now. Please come home. I stared at the screen. Her message hovered there, raw and small. I didn't move. After a moment, I opened her thread, read the rest of the texts, little bursts of panic and guilt, one after another, then quietly deleted the entire conversation. Then I opened Lana's. Hers were longer, more controlled, trying to frame it all as misunderstanding, bad timing, misjudgment, familiar language, the kind people use when they still think they can talk you back into your old role. I didn't even open the last few. I just left them unread. Outside, the kettle started to whistle. I got up, poured the hot water over a tea bag, then returned to the chair, knife in hand, and picked up the block of cedar. The blade moved smoothly, gentle pressure, no rush. I wasn't punishing them. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, simple. They made their choice, and I'd made mine. The man who always showed up wasn't angry. He was just done. The fire crackled, the shadows danced, and for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel like anyone's placeholder. I just felt like myself. It started with a blurry photo. Someone, a cousin of the groom's maybe, or a bored teen with a good angle, had snapped it at just the right moment. Ava standing at the top of the aisle alone, bouquet trembling in her hands, her eyes fixed somewhere far off. No father beside her, no hand on her elbow, just a bride and a long, lonely walk in front of dozens of people too polite to react, but too shocked to ignore. The photo landed first on a local parenting Facebook group, captioned, "Bride walked herself down the aisle. No dad in sight." Whole ceremony paused. Anyone know the story? By the next morning, it was on Instagram, then TikTok, then Reddit, and the comments started pouring in. This poor girl. That's heartbreaking. Where's her father? Where's her stepdad? There's always a stepdad in these stories. Wait, didn't he raise her? If the man who raised you isn't standing there with you, you better have a damn good reason. And then came the backstory. Someone chimed in who knew someone. Then someone else posted about Ava's dad, Victor, ghosting her the week before. Another shared that the stepdad had paid for the wedding. Word spread like kindling. The internet wasn't kind, but it wasn't cruel either. Not toward me. I became a symbol, the man who stepped up but got stepped on. The quiet father figure who chose dignity over drama. Strangers turned me into something bigger than I ever meant to be. They called it the silent father stand. One saw tizatst. Dad who walked away, Trended for 12 hours. Lana saw it unfold first. Someone in her wine group forwarded her the thread, probably trying to sound concerned, but privately thrilled to have a front row seat to a public unraveling. She scrolled for hours, her perfectly manicured fingers hovering over the screen, like maybe if she didn't touch it, it wouldn't be real. Her curated version of events was crumbling, the version where I was gracious and supportive, where Victor was healing past wounds, where Ava was finally ready to reconnect with her roots. The truth, the real truth, was now in front of thousands of strangers, and they weren't buying. The spin. Ava, meanwhile, stopped leaving the house. The internet had done what I never intended. It held up a mirror to her choice, not with malice, but with the brutal honesty only strangers can give. She turned off comments on her posts, deleted the picture of her standing at the top of the aisle. But it was too late. What was supposed to be her fairy tale wedding had turned into a cautionary tale. Not because of what I did, but because of what I didn't. And for once, my absence spoke louder than anything I could have said. It was a Tuesday afternoon, about 3 weeks after I got back from the mountains. I was walking through the local hardware store, the kind of place where the aisles smell like sawdust and motor oil, and nobody bothers you unless you're lost or bleeding. I needed wood glue. Maybe I didn't really. I just wanted to be somewhere quiet, somewhere ordinary. I turned the corner near the fasteners aisle, and there she was, Lana. She was holding a folded shopping list and standing next to a shelf of cabinet hinges, staring at them like they might start rearranging themselves. When she looked up and saw me, something in her face changed. Not panic, not anger, just stillness. For a second, neither of us moved. Her eyes found mine, and I watched her try to decide whether to speak. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. She stepped forward anyway. "Michael," she said, her voice soft, like saying it louder might break something. I didn't say anything right away. I just looked at her. She looked older, not in a cruel way, just tired. Like someone who hadn't been sleeping, whose world had tilted too fast and never righted itself. "I wasn't expecting to see you," she said, almost like a question. I nodded once. "Same." She smiled faintly, then stopped, unsure if it was welcome. Ava's been trying to reach you. So have I." I knew. She didn't need to say it. "She made a mistake," Lana added quickly, rushing into the gap between us. "She knows it. I know it. If we could take it back." I held up a hand, not angry, just finished. "You don't have to explain," I said quietly. Lana's face fell just slightly, like a door closing behind her. She looked down at the list in her hand, then back at me. "You look different," she said. "I feel different." A long pause. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for everything. You didn't deserve it." I nodded again. "You're right. I didn't." We stood there in that fluorescent lit aisle, surrounded by drawer slides and doorknobs, the smell of rubber hoses hanging faintly in the air. Then I gave her a small, simple smile. Not sharp, not cruel, just peaceful. And I turned and walked away. No lecture, no last words, no scene. Behind me, I could feel her watching. I could imagine her gripping that list a little tighter, wishing it could buy back time or undo damage. But it couldn't. Some things break quietly. Some endings don't come with explosions, just silence, and a man choosing not to explain himself one more time. I left the store with my wood glue, and Lana was still standing in aisle 6, holding a list that couldn't fix anything she'd broken.